everybody has something that happens to them that stems from being adopted, right?
Right.
For me, it was always, I'm never good enough. I still had regrets about going on a mission at that point.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, at that point, I would have been, a year or two into my NFL career.
Right.
I'm going to give myself one shot to find God and Jesus, have that relationship. Because I'm like, this is and I told myself, I was like, if I go out there for 2 years and it doesn't work, I will come back and never go to church again. Okay? It worked.
And there's a place here waiting for you. For your business, yeah, we're on the Lord's time, sharing his love and his light.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Brothers in the Foyer. I'm your host this week, William Kennedy. I'm with my brother Isaiah. And we've got a really powerful conversation lined up for y'all today. Before we get started, we want to give a big shout out to our sponsors. First sponsor we want to give a shout out to is Risen. They make these really cool gold and silver chains with Christus on it. And then on the back, it has the words Risen. We'll make sure to put a picture and a link to their website. Another sponsor we want to give a shout out to is Serve Clothing. They make these really nice breathable shirts that come in all different sizes. I like the shirt personally because it's really hard to find the proper length in the arms when it comes to white dress shirts. And then also I get really sweaty in sacrament meetings. So having that vent right there helps, the air come in and kind of, keep things cool and fresh. So shout out to them. We also want to give a shout out to Boone Ties. They make boys ties, men's ties, and girls hair accessories. And I like the tie because they're long. They come in all different colors, different patterns. So shout out to them. And then our last sponsor we want to give a shout out to is Bomb Socks. So that's BOM Socks. And you could check them out on their website. They also make these really cool socks. I have a big size 16 foot and it's really hard to find comfortable socks with nice patterns. And so we want to give a special shout out to them. We'll make sure to link all of their links in our description so that you can check them out for special offers. So today's guest is someone whose journey blends faith, football, and family in an incredible way. From being adopted into a Utah family as a Black child to serving a mission in Argentina and playing football at Utah Tech. He's got a perspective that's rare and real. Let's welcome our brother, Max Christensen III, to the Foyer. Welcome, brother.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, man.
It's an honor and a blessing to be here, seriously.
Of course.
Welcome to the Foyer.
Thank you.
This is it. So.
All right. Well, how are you feeling, Max?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling good. Like I said, first off, you guys deserve your flowers. Okay. So the stuff you guys are doing, the content you're putting out there, the guests that you've had on this show, I'm not worthy enough to be a guest on this show compared to some of the guys you guys have had on here. So like I said, an honor and a blessing to be here with you guys today, and big time shout out to what you guys are doing and how successful this show has become. And no doubt it'll continue to kind of launch into the atmosphere there and touch a lot of people in a lot of really cool ways. So you guys are doing amazing stuff, and keep it up, man. So it's looking really good.
Man, appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
So grateful. That's super humbling. So thank you. Thank you.
No problem,
for that.
brother.
So just to kick things off, tell us a little bit about your childhood, your upbringing, maybe like a little bit about, how was it as a African-American child, being raised in Utah as, a kid that was adopted. How was that?
Interesting to say the least, right? I mean, that's about as good as I can put it. But yeah, it was always an interesting upbringing, interesting childhood. So I was adopted out of Houston, Texas, was born there back in 97, was adopted when I was probably 2 weeks old.
Wow.
And I'm the second oldest of 5 kids. All black kids my parents adopted.
Wow.
And so none of us are blood related, but all of us were adopted when we were so young that none of us know another family outside of the ones that our parents have provided for us. My parents are the best people I've ever met in my life, the greatest people on the planet, because somehow, some way, these two white people, dad from Boise, Idaho, mom from American Fork, Utah, got together and opened their doors and adopted 5 black kids, and brought them into their home from all different families and parts of the country, even, and made us a family. So, but it was definitely always interesting because, we got a lot of looks.
Oh yeah.
Growing up, of course. I mean, again, they adopted me in the late 90s, and then just continued to adopt 3 younger kids after me. And again, they already had my older sister.
Okay.
And so, and originally we actually started out in Idaho. So my parents met at Utah State. My dad went on a mission. My mom was done with school, and when they came back, they got married. My dad finished school at Boise State, where he's from, and that's when they adopted me and my older sister when he was at Boise State. Yeah. And then we lived in Homedale, Idaho, this little town on the Oregon border. Okay. Little tiny Idaho town until I was almost 9 years old. I remember being baptized there. And so again, picture these 2 white people with 5 little black kids in this little Idaho town. Different. Okay. You get some looks where everybody's like, what are we doing here? Yeah. Right. I know anytime my mom was alone home at the house, she got mistaken for the nanny. Oh. Right. Everybody thought she was the nanny and waiting for our black parents to show up and come back. Wow. Right. Or she would always get looks at the store, things like that. And then they end up taking us, we moved to Logan, Utah. Can't say Logan. Technically Smithfield. Oh, okay. I say Logan because nobody knows where Smithfield is. And my mom's like, you tell everybody that we live in Logan. You tell everybody we live in Logan, but we live in Smithfield. Okay, so correct yourself. So yes, mother, we live in Smithfield. Okay. So that's where I did a lot of my growing up and things like that. And again, very unique situation. Especially being members of the church, right? You're parading 5 young black kids, only black kids in the ward, right? Through church every Sunday and doing all this stuff. And my parents are very well known throughout Cache Valley now because of, having adopted 5 black kids and doing the thing. But, very, very blessed and grateful to have lived that life, with my parents and things like that. Definitely came with its challenges. Yeah. Right? One of the big things was, once I got into early high school years and things like that, like, a lot of the race things would happen and some different things would happen at school, things were said, whatever. And it was hard to not come home to parents who could empathize with us kids. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, my parents are the greatest people I've ever met on the planet, and it's not their fault they can't empathize. Yeah. Right. But me being black, they being white, we kind of live in different perspectives there, right? Right. So at some point, I got tired of coming home to, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that happened. What can we do to help? Right. And I just one time wanted to come home to, yes, this happened to me. This is how you handle it. This is how you deal with it. Yeah. Right. So it was a very new experience for my parents as well, and entering the different conversations of, their kids experiencing some racism or different things that would happen throughout our lives as we were growing up. So it was as hard on them as it was on us. So it was kind of being able to balance that dynamic of learning how to manage that with every kid that they had. So,
wow, man. That would be hard. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes and think, how that would feel not to have that parent that looks like me, that when I'm going through, whether that's prejudice or some type of form of racism, how would it feel, and not to be heard or maybe not necessarily heard, but just to have someone that can relate, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah. That's, a huge part of us even making this podcast was so that we could get our perspectives out there as black men in the church and hopefully build a bridge of helping people that aren't as exposed to diversity get the exposure that they would need to be able to, like you say, compensate for those differences.
For sure.
Because it's tough when you're not exposed to different elements or cultures, you know, and then now you have parents who have 5 black children, and it's like when they're dealing with these issues of race, well, dang, how do we deal with that? You know, so hopefully our voices in doing this can help people come around to relate to us as a black people or a black community and know how to navigate that conversation, or even where we can basically relate to one another, to be able to console one another when we have those times of prejudice or racism that we may encounter.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. As far as like, I know you talked about it a little bit, but like, how have you coped with that? You know, that experience that you went through as a kid and in your youth. How have you coped with that? Like, what has that been like for you?
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting process. I think I handled adoption the worst out of all my siblings.
Yeah.
Because I was the most curious. Right? It's funny. Everybody always asks me, when did you find out you were adopted?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was telling
because you see that that in the movies, bro. Like, like, oh, you're not our real son.
yeah. And I was like, I do not ever remember my parents sitting us down and being like, kids, you guys aren't biologically ours. Okay. It was just one day, it was kind of just like, one of these things is not like the other, right?
Yeah, that's
and it's just like you kind of just move that way.
Yeah.
Right? So it was difficult because for me, I have still to this day, I have a very logical mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything needs a reason.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I'm a big quote guy. One of my favorite quotes is, paraphrasing, says something like, you know, you can ask yourself over and over again, what did I do to deserve this? And the one answer you never expect to hear is nothing. Okay. So I had to justify why my mom gave me up. Okay. Because come to find out, you know, when I'm getting ready to go on a mission and do those things, that my mom actually kept my two older brothers, and she kept them and gave me up.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Which made the wheels turn even more.
Yeah.
But I remember, so when we lived in Homedale, we lived on 40 acres of land. Okay. And so I was a little farm kid growing up. Right, doing that. I thought I was going to be
Bucking barley.
Yep. Thought I was going to be a farmer growing up. But I vividly remember, bro, being 6-7 years old, and I would just walk around our property in my little cowboy boots and just cry all the time. Okay. Because I couldn't understand. I couldn't come up with a reason, because in my head, I'm like, I had to have done something.
Right.
I'm saying 6 years old, and I'm thinking I had to have done something for my mom to give me up.
Yeah.
Okay. And for the longest time, like I feel like I had a little, I told everybody, I was like, I'm not a complete person. I have a little hole in my heart that will only be filled if I get the chance to meet her. Not because I ever wanted a relationship with her. I want questions answered.
Yeah.
Right. I want to know why, you know, what, like, and again, like, and when I was younger, I was like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I was a little baby, like it was just, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah, so the biggest way I coped with it was sports, right? Yeah. That's kind of where I found my niche. And I remember, again, being 6-7 years old, walking around, crying all the time, doing this. And at 6 years old, I made the decision that I was going to be famous. Okay, didn't know what it was at the time, you know, but I laugh about it now because the thought was, I am going to become famous at something. Okay, and then, you know, I'm going to grow up, make a lot of money, do this, and I'm going to be on TV doing whatever famous thing I'm doing. Okay. And I'm going to be so big that my mom's going to be sitting in Houston. My birth mom's going to be sitting in Houston, watching me on TV, and she's not going to know it's me, of course. Right. But somehow, some way, God is going to give her the impression that this is the son that she gave up. Right. And she'll be able to finally feel a little bit of the pain of what I had felt my entire life. At 6 years old, this is what I was planning to do. Okay. Because so that was how I kind of was able to cope and justify things, was because I had, you know, everybody has something that happens to them that stems from being adopted, right?
Right.
For me, it was always, I'm never good enough. Right. And I had a hard time trusting people when I was younger because in my head, I was like, well, you know, if my own birth mom didn't want me, who in this world can I trust?
Yeah.
Right. If my own birth mom didn't want me, how will I ever view myself as good enough?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was able to gain some of that justification through sports because there's an obvious winner, there's an obvious loser.
Right.
You are either good enough or you are not.
Right.
Right. So you can see it there. Okay.
Right.
There's something tangible about that. And so that's what really made me kind of gravitate towards sports. And, you know, I come from my mom's side of the family, big time sports people and things like that. So it was an easy decision to start playing sports when I got into 9, 10 years old. But yeah, that's really what helped me growing up and kind of cope with a lot of the pain and things I was dealing with internally that, of course, I never want to talk about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm a man.
Yeah.
And I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so sports is really what helped me kind of pick myself up a little bit and at least propel myself in doing something productive with a lot of the pain and anger that I felt.
I love that.
Gotcha. What was the first sport that got you into it to where you're like, all right, this is where I'm gonna just start and use it as a coping mechanism?
Yeah, so basketball was my first love, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so I ended up gravitating towards football because I stopped growing. Like, I'm 6'2" and a quarter right now with a 6'8" wingspan and a size 15 shoe. Okay, so I thought I was gonna be this guy's size. Okay, I thought I was gonna be 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", and I grew really fast as a young kid. So I was always bigger, taller, everything. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going. Gonna go play college basketball. But yeah, so basketball is my first love. I was probably better at basketball than I was at football until my junior year of high school.
Okay.
And that's kind of when I was like, the growth ain't happening no more. I'm getting bigger. I'm not getting taller. Right. So I might as well go the football route. So yeah, basketball was definitely the first love and getting up and down the court and doing that stuff. Because like I said, it's harder to learn the game of football as a young kid, of course. Was never, didn't really get that dialed in until probably I was in 8th grade, 9th grade. Started playing football and basketball when I was 9 years old. But yeah, way better at basketball than I was at football up until junior year of high school.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. Just to go back a little bit and not to dwell too long on this, but as you were speaking, it reminded me of the way I felt, like, because I grew up in a 2-parent home until the age of 5 or 6, and my parents got a divorce, and I kind of felt the same way with my father for a long, until I was like 18 years old. And I was about ready to go on my mission. I just felt so much hatred and anger and just like, why did you leave? Like why did you leave me? And sports was definitely an outlet for me, man, especially football, just cracking kids, just playing. And, but yeah, I definitely felt that for a long time of just like, why, and coping with that. And then, I would say, like once I spoke with my father at the age of 18, before I was like leaving on my mission, we had this conversation. And I was able to forgive him, which was really hard. And I realized that the whole time I had a father in heaven. And I know this sounds cheesy, but I was like, man, like, why didn't I this whole time, man? Like someone that cared and loved for me. Anyways, but it wasn't until I like got ready to serve my mission that I realized that. And so basketball and football was still heavily in my life. And then once I went on my mission, it just changed my life completely and changed my perspective. You served a mission.
Yes.
In Argentina.
Yep.
Talk about that experience, like I know it's probably wild.
Oh my gosh.
Hold up, because I got a question that'll lead into your mission. I do want to ask you. So, because you mentioned both of your parents served missions, right?
Yes,
And so faith was something obviously that was very integrated in your household.
absolutely.
Did you ever find, like, in the process of your disappointment where that played a role in you kind of coping with some of the feelings that you were having in terms of you guys have, and coming to like your identity and of a sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So I no, not really, if I'm being honest.
No, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really reach for the religion stuff. And again, like we went to church every single Sunday. Like, I don't even know if my parents know this, but like the only reason I ever went to church growing up was so they would feed me and clothe me, and let me live in their house. Okay, I didn't like it. I didn't really buy into it and anything like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that there every once in a while, I'd pray and like really give like, pour my soul out there, and feel like I got something back, right? Or kind of ask those questions, or kind of, cry out the why and woe is me and all this stuff, and feel like something was there, right? I also feel very super connected to my adopted family because I was lucky enough to get past the family name. Okay, I'm Max Christensen III in my family, and so my of course my grandpa, then my dad, and it's now tradition to pass it to the oldest son, and I was lucky enough to gain that privilege, and so I feel very, very tied to my adopted family as well. So I was able to find a lot of comfort in that.
Gotcha.
I guess growing up was that felt like mom left me high and dry. Right. Yeah. Come to find out she did the best thing for me. Okay. Yeah. So I was able to definitely have a change in perspective there. But yeah, religion was always a big thing in the house, especially living in Logan, Utah. That's everybody is walking in lockstep in that direction as well. So it was never hard to it was hard to be LDS just from the standpoint of like, the only black kid, right? But it wasn't hard to be LDS just in the community that I grew up in because, again, all my buddies, all my friends, every girl I ever dated, all that stuff, it was just how dedicated are you to it?
Yeah.
Everybody's in it.
Right. Yep.
Right. And everybody's showing up to church on Sunday because parents are taking us there whether we want to or not.
Right. Exactly.
Right. But there's levels to what your mindset is in that whole thing.
Yeah. It remind me of back in the Southern style households, you got Sunday church for 5 hours, and you got something every day of the week in church, and kids have been
Bible
dragged
study.
to a Bible study, everything. Whether you want to go or not, you going.
Yeah.
So where was the pivot point for you to get you from like, all right, I'm going just because my family is here, we're going, to where you're like, you had an impression to end up serving a mission? Because that's a big switch.
For sure.
Going from not wanting to go or just going because your family's doing it, and then doing a mission and serving out of the willingness of your own heart.
Absolutely. That's a great question. So this is, the turning point was my senior year of high school, and I'll backtrack for a second. So the plan was always serve a mission. Okay. Mom served a mission in Peru. Dad also served a mission in Argentina. Okay. Ironically, again, I'm Max III. Max 1, 2, and 3. All of us served in Argentina.
Wow.
Okay. What? Weird. All right. And so my dad served in Buenos Aires South. I was 2,000 miles south of him in a place called Comodoro Rivadavia, which is I got to serve actually at the very southern part of Argentina, right by Antarctica. That's where our mission was. So So penguins, glaciers, the whole deal, dude. It was nuts.
That's dope.
And we can get in that in a second. But and the crazy part, so again, my dad was 2,000 miles north of me. My grandpa, when he went to Argentina, it was just Argentina North, Argentina South. There was only 2 missions. And so my grandpa actually served in areas that both me and my dad were both in.
Whoa.
So it was crazy that way. So the parents always serve a mission. That's, it was preached in Oregon. I won't say my parents preached to us, but it was taught in the home that was something that was definitely an option. My parents were also the best too, because they saw that I was going to have potential to go play college sports. I had a little brother who actually played football at BYU. He didn't serve a mission. And my parents, they're like, hey, we will support you. If you want to go, we'll 100% support you. If you don't, we will 100% support you. Okay.
That's awesome.
I got to live in one of the lucky households that didn't get pressured into it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it was my own free will and choice at that point. So the plan was always to serve a mission up until my junior year. Okay. The very end of my junior year, last game of the regular season football, playing at Roy High School for the region championship, lose by 2 points, I think. And played football at Skyview High School, football and basketball up there in Smithfield. And I end up tearing all the tendons and ligaments on the bottom of my left foot in this game. Don't know it. So I remember I got hurt and, walked off the field, couldn't put any pressure on my foot, anything like that. Went and got x-rays, MRIs, find out it was really serious, this, and this. So I ended up having to have a complete reconstructive foot surgery. I'm out for 7-8 month recovery. The first time in my entire life I ever missed a basketball season. Right. And I broke my leg in 7th grade playing football. They put 6 screws in the plate in my leg and I was back for basketball season.
Wow.
Right. And so this is the first time I had to sit on the bench and clap for my teammates and just just kind of, so that was really hard. And then, so that was the fall of my junior year. Spring of my junior year, I started getting offers to go play Division I college football. That's where things changed. Okay. Because it was a combination of, holy crap, this dream that I'd always had is now actually a reality of getting to go play. And again, I was trying to climb the ladder to end up being famous, right? Yeah. I don't have hardly any regrets in life. One of my biggest regrets is that I didn't enjoy the moments I had growing up, especially once I got into high school, because, I was lucky enough to be a good football player, be a good basketball player, win a lot of awards, trophies, had a lot of team success, was on a lot of really good teams growing up, and never enjoyed one iota of it because anytime I got a trophy, got a medal, anything, I had this big shelf in my room, and I'd go set up there, never look at it again, and I would never celebrate either, because to me it was just, I'm not there yet, right? This is simply a stepping stone to get to where I want to get to, right? Yeah. The biggest stepping stone I had to hit was being able to play a college sport, right? To then go to the pros. So I remember in March of my junior year, I get a DM on Twitter from a random coach at the University of Nevada down in Reno that I'd never talked to, never met in my life, Coach Rolovich. Shout out Coach Rolovich. And he's like, hey, I'm Coach Rolovich, whatever, give me a call. Call him. 20 minutes later, they offered me a scholarship.
Wow.
That was my first one. And I'm like,
okay.
This is real. Like I'm going to go get to play college sports. So I started getting offers, things like that. And my head got big quickly, guys. Okay. Quickly. Like I start, during my junior year too. So like anytime a college ever sent me letters, they would never send them to my house. They always send them to the school. Okay. So anytime I get letters, the secretary would, wherever I'd be sitting I remember I'm sitting in math class one day. Okay. I got 7 letters from University of Oregon in one day. Okay. Wow. So they're walking in just with a stack of letters from Oregon, and they got the logo on the and everybody's like, and I thought I was him, dude. Like back.
I mean, you really was, dude, though.
So because I'm getting letters from Notre Dame, Oregon, Stanford, all the schools in Utah, Missouri, University of Missouri, all these different places, and I get invited to a camp out at Stanford. I get invited. I do a private workout for the D-line coach at University of Oregon. I remember it was literally me and another D tackle, and it was just us two out on Oregon's facility, and the D-line coaches run us through drills, right? Just us. And I was like, bro, like I'm
Yeah.
like I'm in, dude. Like this, like yes, like this is it, right? And the dream school at the time was Boise State, actually. Because I was getting recruited by a lot of these schools and I thought it was great. But my thing was, again, not being very humble at the time. I was like, that'd be cool. I could go to Oregon. I do not want to sit down on the bench till I'm a junior, right? I'm trying to play as a freshman.
Right.
Okay. Whatever the first year I get there. Okay. Yeah. And Boise State at the time, they were beating all these schools I was getting recruited by, but was small enough that I think I'd go in and compete with some of those guys. Okay. And so we had a lot of talks, things like that. Then finally the summer going into my senior year, I'm sitting at Boise State and the coach brings me in. He goes, "Hey, Max, we're going to offer you a scholarship." And again, this is Lord works in crazy ways, right? Because I mean, Boise State's always great with missions. They're in Idaho, right?
Yeah.
It is Utah adjacent,
Yeah.
right? So like, hey, we're gonna offer you a scholarship. The one problem is we can't wait for you to go on a mission so I played defensive end at the time. That was kind of my specialty. Was I was a pass rusher, a sack guy, so they're like, we're losing 7 guys at your position, so we need you to come in and try and compete as a freshman.
Wow.
Music to my ears,
That's
right?
exactly.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I was like this, and they ended up actually losing 8 because their best guy ended up going to the draft a year early and ended up being a high draft pick. Wow. And so they're like, we need defensive ends to come in now. We can't wait for mission kids. And I remember sitting in the office, turning to look at my parents, and I said, "Guess I ain't going on a mission." Right? Because at that point I was like, part of me was I can't sit out 2 years after I'm coming off this major foot injury. Right. And also 2, Dream School's telling me that
they need you now.
Hey, they need us now. And this, I saw Manti Te'o, right, go to Notre Dame and tell the world, hey, Bishop told me I'd make a bigger impact going and playing football than I would on a mission. Hey, that's music to my ears, right? Especially because at the time too, I didn't like going to church. Okay, so I committed to Boise State, and that was for a very short amount of time. Going to my senior year, and this is what it prompted me to go on a mission was, I'm sitting around one day and I already have it planned out that the second I step out of my parents' house, I'm done going to church. I'm gonna go to Boise State. I'm gonna be a college football player in a college football town. I'm gonna live that lifestyle. I'm gonna be there for 3 years, win Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year, and then go to the draft. That was the plan.
That was it.
Okay. And I knew I was going to get a lot of trouble up there too, right?
It's like
in all the ways. And for some reason, I got this thought that, I have not yet even given myself a chance to have a testimony of the Church of Jesus Christ, right? I never even give myself a chance to get a testimony of the Book of Mormon, to have a relationship with God and Jesus and the Holy Ghost and do all these. You want to talk about, kids in Utah growing up in the culture, talk about, standing on their parents' testimony until they gain their own. Okay. I was riding those coattails. Okay.
It's a real thing.
I was doing it to the absolute extreme. I was just fully basing everything off my parents' testimony. Never a single iota off anything that I knew. Okay. So of course, what do you do in that situation, right? You say, hey, what's the best? I'm going to go serve a mission, right? So literally I said, you know what? I have not yet given myself a chance to do this stuff, right? So before I decide to get, I'm already making the decision to give all this up when I go to Boise State, when I go to school. But I haven't even given myself to give anything up, right? Because I don't really know if I believe it. Okay. Yeah. So I was like, hey, I'm going to give myself one shot to do this, and I'm going to go serve a mission. So I ended up making the decision to go serve. And everybody pulled my scholarships because I told everybody I wasn't going on a mission. So everybody pulled my scholarships except for 3 schools. And it was the University of Nevada in Reno, University of Wyoming, and the Air Force Academy. And for me, being 18 years old, it was very simple math. Okay. I'm not living in Laramie, Wyoming. Okay. I'm not joining the Air Force. So I guess I'm going to University of Nevada down in Reno, and they were my first offer, and they'd been great throughout the process anyways. And so I actually committed to them probably a month before signing day, probably January of 2016, to then sign with them in February, because they were okay with me going on a mission.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was my big thing was I'm going to give myself one shot to find God and Jesus, have that relationship. Cause I'm like, this is and I told myself, I was like, if I go out there for 2 years and it doesn't work, I will come back and never go to church again. Okay. It worked. Right. Yeah. And in, the mission's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life to this day. And I played 6 years of college football. But yeah, that's what kind of made me want to serve a mission was the fact that I had not ever gained my own testimony. Was the Book of Mormon true? Had no idea. The first time I ever read the Book of Mormon cover to cover was in the mission. First time I ever did it. Okay. Had no clue if the Book of Mormon was true. Knew nothing about the Bible outside of Veggie Tales. Okay. Which I knew so little that once I get into the doctrines, I'm like, wait, this is just the Old Testament. This is no New Testament stuff at all. And yeah, didn't have any relationship with God or Jesus Christ or anything like that. And so I wanted to give myself that opportunity to kind of gain that.
Man, that takes so much faith because you literally had everything that you wanted. I mean, you had the dream school, the dream opportunity, and you're like, you don't know, we know what it was. That was a prompting. And you definitely took that prompting and acted upon it. And that takes so much faith to just like put your desires aside because you had everything right there that you wanted, but you took the opportunity to just find out if what your parents brought you up in was actually true. And I mean, from the choice, from what we see, that do you feel like you lost anything by making that decision to give up playing at Boise and going on a mission? Yeah.
This is the Foyer, bro.
Yeah, this is the Foyer. Yeah, for sure.
Guys, I had so many regrets when I initially came home. So many. Okay. I'm able to sit here now because, again, though I don't operate very well on the Lord's timing. Okay. I don't.
Many of us don't. I don't do
that very well. And so yeah, I because the two things I knew when I left on the mission, because I graduated high school early to go on the mission, actually. So I finished playing senior year of basketball. Actually played in the state tournament after I graduated high school. Don't even know if that's legal or not, but technically graduated high school, played in the state tournament. And then so I graduated high school in March of 2016, left on the mission in May. And it's like, I'm in the MTC when everybody's going to senior prom and graduation, thinking that I didn't have to sit through graduation, and do all those kind of things. And, so the two things I knew when I left on the mission was where I was going to go to school and the girl I was going to marry. Right. And I end up losing both of them in back-to-back weeks in the mission. Okay. I am 16 months into the mission. I'm sitting down in Ushuaia. Okay. That's the southernmost town on the planet that is inhabited by people. Okay. It's called El Fin del Mundo, the end of the world, what they call it. Okay. Because it's literally, somebody decided to build this town and here's the mountains, here's the Arctic Ocean. And they built this little town right here. Okay. This is where National Geographic launches off to go do their explorations and videos in Antarctica. All the cruise ships come around. Like, it's a very touristic place because everyone wants to say they've been to the end of the world. Okay. Because south of that is Antarctica. That's it. Right. And I was lucky enough to be down there for 5.5 months in the middle of the winter. Okay?
Wow.
To the point where, I grew up in Logan, Utah. It's cold. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Slept in 2 sleeping bags my entire mission. And we in Argentina, they they have washers, but they don't have dryers, so we got to hang dry stuff. Okay.
Man.
In the cold.
Yep. So I'd wash stuff. I'd hang dry everything, clothes, pants, whatever, frozen solid when we woke up. Okay. I can't tell you how many pairs of socks I lost from holding them over the fire, trying to thaw them out, and they just catch on fire as I was trying to thaw them out to wear them that day. So I'm down there. I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Down in Ushuaia.
Trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
You're doing all that.
Yes. Yes. I got 8 months before I come home. Okay.
Wow.
I'm on the downhill slope. I'm starting to do the horrible countdown, which I was told I was in Argentina for 2 years. You can't tell me I wasn't there less than a decade. Okay? I was there for 10 years. Sitting down in Ushuaia, my girlfriend Dear Johns me. Okay.
Oh.
And I was way more mad than I was sad. So, you know, me being the macho man that I thought I was, I'm like, that's okay. That's fine. I still have football, right?
Yeah.
Right. I don't need girls. Football is what I got, right? As long as I got football, I don't need anything. Don't need nobody. Okay.
Yeah.
The very next week, go to the cyber cafe. You know, we're paying to use these computers, send emails and stuff like that. And I get an email from my mom. She's like, hey, just so you know, Nevada had a coaching change. The new coaches came in, told us that they no longer have a scholarship for you, and you're gonna have to go find another place to play.
It's the worst thing.
Wow.
Bro.
Yeah, for sure.
I broke down more over that than getting Dear John by my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of it, and that to me was a massive deal. Again, backtracking to, that was the bit, like the day I signed my national letter of intent to go to Nevada, I was like, I am one step away from finally being good enough in the eyes of my birth mom and everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I am one step away from going to the NFL. Okay. And I lost that by going and doing what everybody told me I was supposed to do. Everybody talked mission blessings, mission blessings, mission blessings. I said for 3 or 4 years after I got home, I was like, did those show up? Do these mission blessings ever happen? Do they happen to the person who goes, or just everybody around them? Right. So, yeah, I was very bitter when I got home, because I went from, again, doing a private workout at Oregon to showing up. I got home and I was like, I have no idea if I'm going to play football again. I have no idea how I'm going to pay for college.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I ended up at a walk-on tryout down at Snow College. There was over 200 of us. They said they're keeping 7. I was lucky enough to be one of the 7, and I'm a couple months off the mission, so I'm not even close to ready to go. Right. So my first year at Snow College, I wasn't on scholarship, so I'm working at McDonald's in Ephraim, Utah, as I'm playing football and going to school. As I'm doing that, my little brother's becoming a superstar at my alma mater at Skyview High School, where I always joke with him. I said, hey, you know, the cookie jar was kind of our thing. I was like, brother, I put the cookie jar so far up on the shelf when it came to expectations, when it came to accolades I had achieved in high school, you'll never be able to sniff it, never be able to touch it. Right. Oh, he passed it up. He passed it up. State champion in track, did a ton of good stuff in football. Anyways, I remember I'm sitting in Ephraim and he calls me, hey, I just got an offer to BYU. Right. I'm a walk-on kid at a JUCO working at McDonald's after I was committed to Boise State. Simon Nevada did this. And my little brother called me telling me he's going to BYU.
Wow.
Right. And I was so happy for him because he deserved it.
Right.
Really good football player. But I thought I should have been there with him.
Yeah.
Right. I thought I should have been in that moment with him. Or playing at a big time school. Not sitting in Ephraim.
Yeah.
Right. And anytime I had a bad day at Snow College, my first year, the first thing I said was, well, if I didn't go on a mission, I wouldn't be here. Right. If I didn't go on a mission, I would not be here. Right. And that carried for the first couple of years I was there. Cause I know I redshirted my first year there in 2018 because, again, physically not ready to go at all. Meat, bread, and pasta every meal for 2 years didn't do me wonders. I was definitely not strong yet. And played in 2019. my first fall there, and I'm talking to Kalani up at BYU, and they're talking about possibly bringing me up, things like that. The very end of 2019, I completely blow my right shoulder out and have to have reconstructive shoulder surgery. And so they're like, nah, we're good, And I'm like, shoot, I got to go back to Snow College.
Yeah.
So then 2020 comes around, COVID hits the world. Junior college sports reacted very early to it and pushed everything to the spring, right? So all sports are going to be in the spring. The fall of 2020 and so all we did in the fall was practice every day. And we were still getting looks in film, but all the other schools were still playing.
Yeah.
And I was starting to get looks and things like that. And I was talking with Utah State, and I was never a Utah State fan, never an Aggie fan. I'll admit that publicly. And everybody who grew up with me knows that. But there was talks of me being the prodigal son and making the return back to Logan and doing this and this and this. We had one scrimmage in the fall of 2020 against Air Force Prep. Came down from Colorado Springs and did the exact same thing to my other shoulder.
Oh, dang.
Completely blew out my shoulder. Had to have reconstructive shoulder surgery on my left shoulder. And I think I had surgery 362 days apart. It happened almost to the day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So I have 6 anchors in this shoulder, 4 anchors in this one, being held together with bubble gum and duct tape. So then I have to hurry and make a comeback and I'm like, crap, I got to go back to Snow College again.
Yeah.
And so we're playing a spring football season. So our football season starts in March. And so I was lucky enough to recover from all that stuff in 4 months. Technically not recovered, but told everybody I'm good. Let's go play.
Yeah.
And because again, I'm a man, I'm tough. Don't worry about it. And we were lucky enough I was happy I went back. We end up going undefeated, ranked number 2 in the country, got the chance to play for a national championship on national TV, lost by 2 points because our kicker missed 3 field goals.
Dang.
Okay. But so we lost 29-27. And I was one of 17 All-Americans on that team. Wow. So I went from being a walk-on at Snow College, working at McDonald's, to a junior college All-American. So it was great. But still I had a ton of Division II offers coming out of finishing at Snow College, not one single Division I offer because nobody wanted to touch me because of my injuries.
Yeah.
Okay. So this time still, this all going back to what you were saying. I still had regrets about going on a mission at that point.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, at that point, I would have been, a year or 2 into my NFL career.
Right. Right.
Okay. And I'm barely finishing up at Snow College, 2 completely repaired shoulders that still to this day don't work as good enough as the originals. Okay. And I'm doing all this stuff, and that all came back to that decision to go on a mission. Because I'm like, the decision to go on a mission led to me signing to Nevada, led to them pulling my scholarship, led to that walk on at Snow College, playing at Snow College, blowing out both my shoulders. So I'm sitting here, I'm playing this game. I'm like, man, because it was hard for me to have an eternal perspective on things. Yeah. Okay. Because for me, it was really easy. I was like, okay, let me ask 2 really, really basic questions here. Does God love me more than he loves my little brother because I chose to serve a mission and he did not? No.
Right.
Do I have a chance does this automatically put me in an upper echelon? Am I way more likely to does this guarantee me eternal life and to live in the celestial kingdom and do all these things more than my brother because I served a mission and he doesn't? Or do I gain any automatic afterlife benefits because of this?
Yeah.
No. Why did I go?
Yeah.
That's what I always ask myself. So if those 2 questions aren't true, why did I go? Sitting here now, sitting here in 2025, I'm like, I know why I went. Okay. Seeing where the path took me, how I ended up at Utah Tech, how I ended up at St. George, how I met the people that I met, the people at Snow College led to going to St. George, wound that way into what I'm doing now. I'm sitting here, and again, I got home in 18. So it'll be 7 years since I got, it'll April 24th when I got home. So it'll be 7 years here in the next week since I've been home. Now sitting here 7 years later, I'm like, I know exactly why everything happened the way it did.
Wow.
Took a second. Took a while for me to look up and be like, hey, like, this is the path God needed me to be on.
Right.
It wasn't to go, definitely wasn't go to, definitely was not, it was not to go to Boise State. It wasn't to go to Nevada. It was to go to Snow College, experience those hard times, do all these things, you know, challenge my faith over and over and over again. I continue to do that to this day.
Most
right.
definitely.
But yeah, so initially, yes, tons of regrets about going on a mission. All of it based in, well, I would have been married at 21, and had that set up. Still not married, still no girlfriend. So we're working on that. But you know, according to Brigham Young, I've been a menace to society for over 2 years. You know, so I had everything in front of me when I was 18, and I got freaking sideswiped doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
It's like, because again, all I knew was where I was going to play football, who I was going to marry. Like, I tell everybody, like, my life ended at 19 years old. Because that's all I knew, because everything I knew when I got home was taken away.
Right.
And it was doing the one thing that I thought was super good, super beneficial. I'd be really blessed for this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, a month after I got Dear John, lost my scholarship, was not a very productive missionary, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Because I was so in my head.
Right.
But yeah, looking back now, initially, a lot of regrets about going. Now, no regrets about going. I'm really grateful at the fact I'm fluent in Spanish, and that I'm able to have a testimony of the church and see it through the lens I do, based on the challenges I've experienced in life, and also on the mission that have prepped me for where I'm at right this second.
That's awesome.
Wow.
It's awesome.
I love that. And it's a journey. It's a journey. Kind of going to your story like that. Definitely similar feelings. Going on a mission, giving up scholarships, and just coming back and not knowing what I was going to do, you know, and luckily you kept chasing that dream, man. So you don't have that regret, you know. But for me, when I stopped chasing that dream, that regret was there. And so, man, good job for doing that, you know, because a lot of us come home and we're like, we're done, you know, we're going to change pages. But I mean, you became this, you know, athlete that, you know, you were not only a good athlete on the field, but off the field too. Like, you know, you were able to balance the life of being an athlete and a student, you know, and that's really hard in itself. And so to be able to make it through college and then to be where you are today, like, that's a blessing, you know, that's a huge blessing, you know, because for me, when I came home off my mission, I still wanted to play, but life just came a little bit quicker. For sure. You know, like I already knew who I wanted to marry, and you know, we got married a year later after returning home. And then we had our kid the next year.
Oh,
so,
wow. Okay. Yes.
So it was really hard, you know, to adjust. But like you were saying, looking back on it, I don't regret serving a mission, because I am who I am because of the mission and the choices that I make. And sometimes it's hard to see the path that Heavenly Father has for us, because we're in the thick of it. But when we look back, you're like, dang, man, like, man, he was there the whole way, man.
Yes, the whole way.
Yeah.
Most definitely. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about now? Like, what is it that you're doing now and engaged in?
Yeah. So I'm currently working for a marketing company based out of Layton called 360 Elevated Marketing and Advertising, and I'm the director of the Southern Utah division of the company. Still living down in sunny St. George.
Nice.
Love living down there, especially this time of year, right? It's amazing, and the community is fantastic. Being able to be out there, a lot of my job is just networking, and so I've been able to be really, really good at the one thing I did good in school was network. Was trying to set my because it wasn't until, believe it or not, after my second shoulder, the second I found out I needed surgery on this other shoulder, that's the day my NFL dreams died. Okay. And so I was still that delusional that even, I'm a walk on at Snow College, blow out my first shoulder, and I'm still like, hey, I can go to the league.
Yeah.
All right. The second I hit the operating table with my second shoulder, I said, nah,
you might need to.
I don't think I'm making it. I was like, I didn't think I was going to play 3 more years of college football after that. So I was lucky enough just to do that. But yeah, I knew that's when it was kind of over.
Gotcha.
And so I knew I had to set myself up well coming out of college.
Yeah.
So I was able to network really well, do a lot of the things. So really set myself up fairly good in business and just in life in general. Have tons of great mentors who've been, a lot of money in St. George.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I'm able to be around a lot of people who are very successful in life and willing to give back a lot, especially their knowledge and their time, which I feel are the 2 most valuable things you own, knowledge and time. And they're able to give that to me and teach me a lot of their world and things like that, which has been fantastic. And I also do a lot of sports broadcasting for ESPN as well. So I'm a contributor on ESPN radio down there. And then also, this last season was, 2024, the fall of 24 was the first year I wasn't on the field. And so they took me and put me right up in the booth. And I was the color commentator for Utah Tech football and ESPN Plus on TV. So I was able to get a lot of TV time doing sports broadcasting that way as well. So that's been really fun, really cool. So, it's nice, nice to have a mic in front of my face and be able to talk and do those things. And I really enjoy that. So I'm able to still be around sports, be around the games, but don't have to take all the hits and all the punishment. I'm 27, but I feel like I'm 47 after playing college football. So that's a little bit about what I'm doing now.
Awesome, man. So I actually went to school for sports broadcasting. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be more behind the scenes, though.
Yes.
At ESPN on the production crew. So I could definitely relate to what you're doing right now, because that was actually what I wanted to do. Not in front of the camera, though, but behind the scenes. But I know we're running short on time, but I do want to ask you, because we don't run into Black LDS members often out here. So I do want to know, from your experience growing up in the faith, knowing what you know now about the church, history of the church, being a Black man, do you feel like if you didn't have the parents to kind of at least have you in the faith to expose you to it, that you would have fell into this faith on your own without that, knowing what you know now?
Not a chance.
And that's the challenge. That's the challenge we have in our community. So that's why I wanted to ask. The Black community has a really hard time dealing with or just kind of relating to the church because of the history, behind it.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. And the history is wild. And I didn't learn a ton about that. Until, again, I didn't know basic stuff about the church. So I went on the mission. Study it, learn it. I am just water hose taking in all the knowledge about the church. And they're like, okay, so you have to go teach this to somebody else. Also go do it in a different language. and you got 6 weeks. So have fun. That's like that was the longest 6 weeks of my life in the MTC. Hated the MTC. But having been a missionary and being out there, a lot of times I was like, if 2 of us came knocking on my door and I wasn't, I would be like, no way. No way. If I wasn't, I know if I wasn't baptized in it, I probably wouldn't buy into a lot of it either. So I was very lucky that way as well. And let's not get it twisted, right? Like the Black community in general, at least from that I know, views Utah as a bunch of white racist Mormons. Okay. This day and age, we want to group racism and ignorance into the same thing, call it all racism.
Yeah.
2 very different things.
Very different.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of people in Utah that are racist.
Yes.
Okay. There are a ton of people in Utah that are ignorant. Got to separate the two. In today's day, we don't want to do that, but you have to. Okay. So I've had to educate a lot of playing college football, playing with a lot of black guys outside of Utah who come here to play football. Well, for a lot of people, I'm the first black Mormon that they've ever met. Okay. And even I had some teammates show up, and I remember when I was down at Utah Tech, this freshman kid showed up, I think he was from Louisiana or somewhere down south, and he's telling me he had no idea I was LDS. And he's like, yeah, I came out here to Utah. My grandma said, you stay away from the Mormons. All right. They're not good people. They're going to lead you astray, do this and this. And him and I became good buddies. And like a couple weeks later, I was like, hey, and he kept going on about this. I'm like, so, I'm Mormon, right? I'm LDS. He's like, I've never met a black person that was LDS before. Okay. So yeah, it was challenging. I was challenged a lot on the blacks in the priesthood, as we all are, right? Yeah. On why, especially people outside the church, blacks in the priesthood, why the crap are you a part of this church? Right. And if it wasn't for getting, there's things that happen on my mission that I'll probably never leave the church because of some things I experienced. And for me too, it's as the hymn says, it's a firm foundation. Right. For me, the church has done much more good than bad. In my life. Is it perfect? No. Are the people perfect? Absolutely not. Right. So do I have my set of problems and issues with the church? 100%. But has it done me way more good than bad in my life? 1000% yes. And it has been a great tool for me to educate people, because again, not a lot of blacks in Utah in general, even less black Mormons, right? Which gives us a chance to, hey, let us give you our perspective of the LDS church as believers, but a little bit different perspective being black men.
Love that.
Perfect. Love it.
I love that, bro. Well, it's been a great conversation we've been able to have with our brother Max in the Foyer, and we're grateful for him and to be with him today. And we like to wrap things up and make sure that you guys go check us out on all platforms. Make sure that you subscribe, and share this episode with someone that you feel could use it. And want to give a thanks to all of our followers that have been with us from day one. We really appreciate you, and you're really the reason why we do this, is to share that light, that love with you, and to share our perspective. So thank you once again for following us and being here with us in the Foyer. Until next time, we'll see you.
All to come and try.